My next little project on this trailer is to change something which has always bugged me, and that is this front door or front storage area cover. It's one big, long, contiguous door, which means if you put a water bottle or a garbage can or anything down in this area, which tends to be a really useful area to put stuff, you can't open the darn door unless you pull everything out, which makes it super inconvenient. So my plan here is to bifurcate this just about where the cupboard runs out. So in other words, about where that little bottle of shampoo is on the floor. And by cutting the door in two different things, this section to the right will be able to be opened without having to move all the stuff down here. It's a simple little thing, and the way I'm going to achieve it is I'm going to laminate a small piece of really nice hardwood onto the face of the fabric, and I'll secure it with both glue and air nails, and then I can rip that in two, and that will do a nice clean separation, and the fabric will, I'm pretty sure, just stay put and not get destroyed. Okay, so that's the next little project. So carrying on with this little project here, I've got a nice piece of about 5/16 inch Tennessee red cedar, which I'll cut to length. Then we'll air nail it directly onto the OSB, sandwiching the fabric in the top. Then when we rip it, it should rip nice and clean, and the fabric will stay put. That's the plan. So I'm getting to rip the tongue and groove off this piece of a Tennessee red cedar. I'm going to put it at a bit of an angle just to make it look a little better. Okay, so I've got my 3 sides beveled, and I've marked the 4th, like so. And we're just going to cut this. A little bit of sanding, it's going to look like $1,000,000. Cut it just a little bit long, and then I'm going to just sand the edges to round it over so there's nothing sharp to catch on anything. Okay, so I've got my piece of wood chamfered and sanded, and I'm applying Type-On wood glue. Good stuff. Glue is amazing stuff. I was originally going to air nail this on, but I think I'm going to just try and saturate the fabric and hope that holds it, because it looks a lot nicer. Anyway, I'm going to get this clamped up, and I'll show you that when that's done. Okay, so here you see I've got everything clamped up. You'll notice I'm using a thicker block of wood on top of the thin block of the cedar, so that the clamping forces are more evenly distributed. And it worked out just about right. There's a little bit of glue squeegeing out the ends, which is good because I want to kind of dope the fabric on the ends. I'm going to leave this overnight, and then tomorrow we'll rip it apart, and we'll hopefully have 2 door halves with a nice clean edge. So I'm now getting ready to split this piece that I glued on. It glued up well, but I wasn't entirely convinced that the cloth was secure enough, so I did end up putting 4 little brads in there to hold everything stable, and I'll just fill those holes when I get to it. So the saw apart separation went really well, and just a little bit of minor trimming with scissors on the fabric on the end. Now I did end up using a couple of brad nails, as you can see here and here. Normally I would use a wood filler, but this wood color is such that would be really obvious. So I'm going to do an old-fashioned trick where I take a little bit of glue on the end of a toothpick. I'm going to fill the hole and then sand it in, and the over sanding will fill in the hole. So here you can see I have filled all the holes left by the 4 brad nails. with white glue, and now I'm just going to sand over top and let the sawdust fall into the holes. It won't be perfect, but it's going to be better than most of the finishing on the trailer. I actually came up with even a simpler idea. I'm just taking a little bit of sawdust from the wood we've been cutting, which is this Tennessee red cedar, putting it on my fingertip, and just laying it in the hole. And simple as that, it's filled. So easy. Next, I'm going to mask off the areas, and I'm going to do a final sanding with palm sander using 180 grit paper. I can get away using 180 because Tennessee red cedar is a pretty soft wood. Just want to break the edges so nobody's going to cut themselves. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use some Boozlock mystery oil, which is kind of like a butcher block oil, and that will be a nice finish for this simple repair. Well, I've sanded everything down to 220 and it's looking real good. I'm going to take a little Boozlock mystery oil and add this on and watch that grain pop. And pop even better if I didn't drop the cloth. Nice thing about oil finishes is they're very forgiving. Okay. And you can see that Tennessee red cedar just pop out looking beautiful. Nice. And of course I've masked off here. You notice that I'm using a cloth really small. You don't need a lot of cloth and you don't need a lot of oil. A few drops will do it. Make sure we're all good down the sides here. And bammo, we're done. Alright, so here you can see that we have now separated the two bits, and it really makes everything much more accessible because we can use this area, which we do tend to use for water and garbage cans and stuff like that, but we can actually open up the rest of this and close it up like so. And our simple little joinery here, I still need to calibrate the hinges a bit, but that will be easy. And a simple little fix. So if you've got a trailer like this, which has got a large door like this in front, you might want to consider splitting it up. It's not that difficult a job. The whole thing took me realistically less than 3 hours, and if I was doing it again, it would probably take me half that time.